Well, hello and welcome to PM Express. Government to take steps to dissolve the Ghana Football Association. This is the evening after the evening before. Well, many of you went to watch Anas's expose, and some of you came out with the expression of "I'm not surprised," and others came out with utter disgust. But are we going to be hypocrites and say, look, we didn't know that any of such thing happened in Ghana football? Is this a total surprise to us? What is the actual fact? Is it that the extent to which the expose went is what that surprises us, or we thought that the football gaming was actually completely clean? I mean, how many times haven't we heard footballers, in their ages, you found the younger brother in one country celebrating his 18th birthday while the the elder brother celebrating 18, and then the junior brother celebrating his 36th birthday a month later. We've heard all these stories. What is the beef about? Is it the courage to say, look, let's put a stop here and start afresh? Because every time we hear FIFA will do this, FIFA will do that. What should we do now? The expose is out. We've watched it. We've seen all the rot, damn right, ugly and dirty. What is the proper way forward? Those of you in the sports fraternity, the ball is really, really in your court. Do we dissolve the GFA, find a new fraternity or new individuals to go ahead, and will it stop? Because some things are institutionalized, so it doesn't necessarily mean who is there or not. It's the means by which people survive, the means by which people pay their school fees and build their houses. And so at all costs, they would go to make sure this pilfering and bribery and collecting of money will go on. It has been embarrassing, has been a disgrace, and literally on the floor. Today we're going to find out what will be the way forward now that it's in all our faces. My name is Nana Sakwa, the fourth Chief of the Republic of Akwemwedu. When I come back, we are going to find out, can the GFA be dissolved or not? Let's go. Well, thank you very much for staying with me. In the studio is Jerome Ochri, who is a former editor, Kotoko Express, so definitely a die-hard football passionate supporter, and is definitely not happy with what's happening to the fraternity. Joining us later on Skype will be Michael Boedi, Corporate Affairs Manager, Ghana Integrity Initiative. They have their work cut out with this. God knows what their position will be. But let me start with Jerome. Jerome, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Jerome, were you surprised?
At the dissolution?
No, at the expose.
Of course I was, even though I know that the system on which our football runs has been problematic. I mean, there have been problems with it. A lot of us have complained about how refereeing cheating, for instance, was destroying confidence that people had in the game. The difficulty, however, was the fact that we didn't have evidence to show for the suspicion we had that indeed the game was rotten at some level. It was always about complaints and allegations that some of us couldn't authenticate or even support with facts. So when Anas came up that he has something to show how deeply rotten our game is or was, some of us were happy. In fact, I wanted to see exactly what was in there. A lot of the commentary around the video, I didn't like it. I mean, the suspense, having to wait, I think was, just too much for some of us. But yesterday, sitting for 2 hours and looking at what he had gathered on video, I was sad and shocked. Shocked to the extent that I didn't know that the FIFA badge, which for referees, it's about the highest level you can get to. I mean, a FIFA referee could sell his integrity for goat and cooking oil. I thought that was too cheap. I didn't know that was how low we have sunk as a football community.
I mean, Going forward, should government be bold enough to dissolve the GFA?
I think there's a bit of confusion over exactly what has happened. As I listened to the Minister of Sports, he was categorical that the GFA, as we speak now, stands dissolved. And I remember Evans Mensah asking him about the league, about some other events, activities of the FA, and what the position is relative to the statement that the government issued. The minister's response was that everything has been dissolved. Yet, if you read the statement, you don't get that picture. The picture I get from the statement is that steps are going to be taken to dissolve the Football Association. So there's a bit of confusion as to whether it has been dissolved or it is in the process of being dissolved. I think the two are not the same. But whatever it is, my understanding is that government wants to take action on what has happened. The question as to whether government has that power to come into the Football Association and say things are not going well and we want to get things done right, it's another thing altogether. We know that FIFA frowns on such developments. But then we have seen instances where governments will go in, insist that certain things should be done. FIFA will ban the Football Association or the country from FIFA activities until you restore what FIFA considers to be right. And I believe that if that is what we are going to do, I'm all for it.
With what confronts us, with all the evidence and the troubles, will FIFA still be angry if you try to step in to correct it?
I think FIFA definitely will show some form of anger or dissatisfaction because, I mean, FIFA is very clear on government control of FAs. And I support that FIFA regulation. Mm-hmm. But we also have to understand that the constitution of this country, it's bigger than any other law. And so if the government of the land here feels that certain things are not going right in an aspect of the country's life, I don't think that we need external powers to tell us what we have to do. Yes, we may be a member of an international association which has its own rules, but I feel that our rules, it's supreme. And then if we go in there and feel that, okay, this is the way we have to go to come back to FIFA, then we will take that route, ensuring that all the things that we complained of, all the things that we talked of as wrong will not be repeated. Look, speak to any football association member today. They will point to problems in the system. Maybe because they are afraid to talk courageously or boldly. Speak to journalists who follow the game, who cover the game. They will point to problems. Speak to the fans who come to the stadium to watch. They have even very nasty opinion of the game that we are following. So there is enough evidence to show that our game is not clean. And what I would tell people who are opposing government's action is that we should look at the long term. We shouldn't think of what we are going to lose now. Of course, I mean, the league is on break after the first round of the season. We recently had league sponsorship. The Division 1 league was ongoing. The national team, as we speak, is even engaged in a friendly match. So there are issues. This decision is definitely going to create some complications. But I'm looking at the bigger picture. If there will be complications in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, even up to a month or more, but in 5, 10 years to come, our game will be clean. I prefer that to having a system that will be corrupt and we are incapable of doing anything, just looking at it and moving on with it as it is.
I mean, apart from the Black Stars that maybe the state will say, look, I don't want you to manage the Black Stars. With the other individual teams, there's freedom of association. I mean, how do you tell them that, no, you can't associate anymore?
I think it is important to establish that those clubs belong to an association. And that association have their own rules. They decide what they want to do. But we also have laws in this country. that are against certain things. In fact, this same association also have laws against certain things that we saw in the video. For example, FIFA and GFA regulations are very clear on referees taking bribes, referees accepting gifts. Those rules frown on those things. So once it is done and there isn't enough confidence in the system to deal with those issues, I would prefer the situation where the laws of the land would take hold of those issues and deal with it as we have to. Because if...
the laws of the land can say, you know what, because of how you are corrupt, you're no more in charge of Black Stars, because Black Stars sort of like a state club, you know, national club.
Yes.
But if Dumasan United or, you know, Jerome FC say, look, as for us, we still want to be part of this corrupt organization, how can the state come in and say, no, you can't be part of it?
The point is that Jerome FC doesn't operate in a vacuum. Jerome FC operates in a system where, whether we like it or not, whether it is an association or not, it is Ghana. That is why the FA is called Ghana Football Association. And if the president of Ghana feels that there are things in there that tarnishes the image and reputation of the country, something needs to be done about it. I am convinced that this action by the government may have its own problems, but I'm looking at the end of it. If this action could lead to us reforming, coming out as a clean football association, I say it is the best way to go. And you gauge the reaction of the public. A lot of people are applauding it. It doesn't necessarily mean that because it's a popular decision it is right. But I'm saying that you also have to look at the public reaction and listen to the public. Yesterday when we watched the video, practically everybody that was in the room was astonished at some of the things that we were seeing. And I'm saying that it may well be an association doing their own things, but that association operates in a country, and that country has a leader, and that leader has what it takes. If that leader has what it takes to correct a system that is going wrong, I think we should go for it, irrespective of the implications. I know that FIFA definitely will make a pronouncement on what has happened, and FIFA definitely will come with a roadmap. And I'm sure we are going to sit, look at what government has on the table, look at what the football people also have, look at what FIFA will bring, and make sure we find a common ground and operate.
So when you dissolve it, are you now going to train new referees, bring in, new assistant referees? Are you going to bring new GFA bosses and secretaries and everything? I mean, what's the roadmap for this?
Some of the things are going to be very difficult to determine now. For example, are we going to have new referees in the system? Of course, we will have to have new referees. Are we going to have a new FA chairman or FA president? Definitely, there must be. And that would be very difficult for me to determine. But in the case of the referees, it is quite easy to understand that the current season that we have now, we had 120 referees officiating, 60 assistant referees, 60 center referees. Now, from the video that I watched, I counted no less than 50 referees who were compromised. So if we are going into a new system after all that has happened, definitely we would have to have referees who we can trust. So in that particular case, it is very clear. And today I saw a statement by the Referees Association of Ghana saying that their attention has been drawn to that video. They are going to request and look at it and take actions based on what they will see. That tells me that they also want to reform. As to who is going to lead the FA, I'm sure when the FIFA comes in, and when government also shows us the sort of steps that are going to be taken, we'll definitely arrive at a point where we'll serve the interest of Ghana football.
Jerome, as you can tell, I'm not a football person, so I'm asking layman questions, but the stakes seems to be very, I don't know whether it's stakes or passion, but spirit, but something seems to be very, very charged when it comes to sports and football. I mean, if you look at the turnover of ministers and GFAs and loggerheads, I mean, what is there? There's something there that's very charged.
I don't think there is anything there. I mean, it is a fact that football is the passion of the country. All of us are passionate about football. I mean, you may not be following football, but I'm sure
it's the Black Stars and
exactly,
stuff like that.
Exactly,
I get in there.
And from the way you are talking, I can tell that when the Black Stars is playing, you show that emotion. The point is this: that passion is there, but I don't think that in recent years we've had the sort of leadership that will be able to manage that passion against the expectations of the people. And the evidence has been clear. I said somewhere yesterday that before the announced video, the biggest football scandal to have hit this country was what happened in Brazil, 2014. And look at how everybody was talking about it. It was a huge embarrassment. But today, if you ask journalists who...
Have we forgiven the Black Stars since then? Because the nation really got angry with them.
I don't think we have. And we haven't, not because we don't want to, but I feel that a lot of people have not seen the leadership of the Football Association really showing that they are in control of affairs. They want to, I mean, bring back that love that people had for the team. And I keep saying that what happened in Brazil was a leadership failure. It wasn't really about the players holding the country to ransom. Someone was in charge of the players. Someone was in charge of the team. That person needed to put his feet down and make the team understand that this is your country you are representing, irrespective of what is happening. There's a particular way we all have to go. And that, for me, was lacking. And it is from those events that have brought us to this point. A lot of people may not agree with this opinion, but the point is that Ghana football, as we have seen it in recent years, have not had the sort of leadership required to manage that strong passion that people have in the game. Because, I mean, from 2005, 2006, when in 2006 we qualified for the World Cup for the first time, people weren't feeling like this. People had confidence in the system. Even if there were disagreements, people believed that Ghana could do something at the World Cup. And our performance there wasn't that bad. Look at what happened in South Africa 2010. People were impressed. We really had the chance of even getting to the semi-final. But from there, we went to Brazil, a lot of things happened. And even up till now, 4 years after the bonus round in Brazil, we are still fighting over bonuses. That tells you that something has been lacking. And I'm happy that we've come to this point where there is almost a consensus that there's something particularly wrong with our game and we have to deal with it.
If the new GFA, quote and unquote, is there any way they can reduce politics and complications where there will be standards? Because from a layman point of view, every time there's a match, it's like there's a different money, and I didn't get my money, and my money came before, my money came late. I mean, in football, can we put down rules to say, look, for every match, A will happen, B will happen, D would happen, so that it's like a set procedure that we all know, that players will know that, look, we'll go and play and get our money, or we'll get our money and go and play. So I don't know, can it be done? Or in football, it's not like that? It
can be done. And I have a friend who always asks this question, that the Germans who won the World Cup, I mean the last World Cup, how much money were they given? How much money did they have as appearance fee? It is about the same that we had. Why was there no confusion over how they shared the money, or how the money even came for them to share for the team? It was because there was a standard procedure which perhaps have been used over time. So you stick to it or you get out of the system. Our problem, and that's why I mentioned the point about leadership, our problem has been leadership taking control of affairs and deciding that this is the standard practice and this is what we must follow. If leadership abuses the system, then those following are definitely going to go wayward. And that's what I saw in Brazil. I think the problem has been that we have not looked at the real issues undermining our football. And people have talked about grassroots football dying, the league not being as attractive as we all want to see it. There has been an over-concentration on the national teams, and even the national teams are even failing. So it has all been about having a specific point where we want to drive our football. And that is what has been lacking. That is why you come to the point where people entrusted with the power to run football, like we saw in Anas's video, can go as low as taking 300 cedis. I mean, less than $100 to influence a match that you as...
You see, if somebody takes 300 cedis, let me acknowledge Michael Bwedi, and I'll come back to finish this question. Michael Bwedi is Corporate Affairs Manager, Ghana Integrity Initiative. Michael, you're welcome.
Thank you, and good evening to your listeners, your viewers.
Good, Michael. I'm going to ask this question, and I think I'll bring this question back to you, but let me ask Jerome first. I mean, if a referee takes 300 cedis, is it hardship?
Come again?
No, I'll come to you, Michael. Hold on for me.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
It's a question I asked myself this afternoon. I mean, I tweeted asking, is it hunger, poverty, or greed? Because I cannot understand how a match commissioner, and the person we are talking about is an executive committee member of the FA. Fortunately or unfortunately, she's the only woman on the committee. And in an era where we want to see women taking up positions at such level, and such a woman goes as low as taking 300 cedis as match commissioner, with all the power you have, you take 300 cedis to influence how a match should go. What it tells me is that the system is so broken that nobody cares about anything, not even their own integrity, not even the profession that they have perhaps gone to school or gone through some training to protect. And that is why some of us believe that the system is rotten. It is rotten because nobody cares. There must be the situation where the person leading the association will be up to a certain standard and will bring that standard to those below him so that we all follow. But if that is missing, clearly everybody will be doing what he or she wants.
Let me go to the phone and speak to Michael Bwedi. Michael. Hello, Michael.
With you.
Very good. Michael, I'm sure Ghana Integrity Initiative, the boss should give you at least a week off to go and just at least catch your breath. Because where do you even start from and where do you finish? Just confusion, no ayebasa. The confusion, no ayebasa. I mean, where do you start from and where do you finish?
Well, I think we should start from the fact that this is no news. Mm-hmm. What is news is that this time around we have pictures, we have evidence to back what we have said all along. Mm-hmm. I mean, from 2012 World Cup till this day, issues of corruption or the issues of poor accountability within the FA has been something that every Ghanaian has talked about. Every Ghanaian knows about it. But the difficulty that we've had all these years is trying to bring empirical evidence that will help us take action. The other thing is, how do we reconcile what the FIFA rules are and what our national accountability standards are? So these are issues that, for me, I think that an opportunity has presented itself for us to be able to deal with.
The other thing is, Michael, what's going to happen is that those who are frustrated and want to see justice, I mean, by the time they get to the courts, they will be riddled with so much legal technicalities. It's probably going to take about 3 years, even just to get the case started. And because it's not against, it's like a crime against nobody but against everybody, it loses steam. And so it dies out, and then the frustration is just left on us.
Well, I think that it will die down if we, those who have the opportunity to speak, keep quiet. I mean, we need to speak, and speak very loudly, such that it would be very difficult for it to die down. And this country, we have seen actions taken because the people decided to speak, and the people had said enough is enough. The classical case is the Galamsey issue, where people couldn't take it any longer, and so citizens began to speak and continually demanded accountability, and indeed something happened. And therefore, I believe that for all that we have seen and for the pain that many Ghanaians are suffering right now as a result of what they saw yesterday and or what they have seen today, I think that if we all get angry enough to press on and demand justice, this issue will not die down. I also subscribe to the use of the technicalities because you don't also want to convict an innocent person. And therefore, all avenues of justice should be explored such that when justice is handed down, it will be satisfactory to all parties. Indeed, as we speak now, even those we saw in the video, they have some rights, and we don't want to be seen to be abusing those rights. I mean, two wrongs does not make one right. What we want is that the law is made to take its own course. People are given their day in court or whatever avenue that it will be required for them to seek justice. But ultimately, justice should be done and should be seen to be done.
Jerome, let me get a bit philosophical with you. Yeah? You see, because we have not been able to harness love for country, it becomes very difficult for people willingly to protect the same country.
Yeah.
So we are in a very difficult phase here. Because from childhood, you know, everybody is me, myself, and I, me, myself, and I. And if you are Ewe, you're more towards, you know, Ewe. If you are Kan, or Ashanti, or Akwamu. The Ghana bit only comes in when like Black Stars come, then we are all Ghanaians. After Black Stars, we all quickly run back to our tribes. Yeah. And it seems to be, you know, very resonant here, where it's like, I will sell it to the lowest bidder. I mean, how can we, so when after we have dissolved and bring a fresh team who also come, who haven't been taught to love nation, how do we win?
First of all, we know what the problem is now. Maybe I may be repeating myself on leadership, but for me, my thinking and my philosophy and everything, I think leadership determines everything. If the one leading shows the light, those of us at the back will be able to see our way clearly. If the light that he's showing is dim, clearly we cannot see well, and all of us are going to fall into a ditch. I think the problem here has been that we have not seen those at the top level of our football giving us what we want to see. And for example, I mean, I share that scenario you painted so well. What would come over a player to get that courage to slap a management member of the FA at no other place but the World Cup? How would that player muster that courage to even go to the extent of exchanging words and then adding a slap? I mean, being violent. It goes to tell you that, and these things may be based on suspicion, but it goes to tell you that that player feels that there's a certain vacuum which should be filled by that leader, which he's not feeling. So then, any way possible that he can express himself, he does it. And that's why, for instance, the national team will go and play. There's no feeling for the state. So the players who are playing see it as let's play and take our money and go. If they go, they come back, they are kept in a hotel, they'll be told that the money will come, the money won't come. Next time, if you put him or her on the pitch it's going to be the same attitude.
Has Ghana ever had the good old days in football? Was there a period where there was a good old day of football where players went on the pitch and played their heart out?
I think some of us are too young, but I mean, from recent events I have seen in football, I can go back to 2006 and talk of how Stephen Appiah led his mates to represent the nation in Germany. I think it was brilliant. Even in South Africa, it was brilliant. But in Germany, in Brazil, we saw a country that was being ruined by money. And I'm saying that the GFA president in Brazil granted an interview to the Daily Graphic in which he said money ruined us in Brazil. But who was in charge of the team? If granted that, yes, money destroyed us, who allowed money to destroy us? The point is that if children at home are going to feel patriotic, I mean, feel a part of the country that they belong to, much is going to depend on how those who are leading the country play up things. If children don't see, if some of us don't see that the sort of leadership being offered is good enough for us to pick something out of it, definitely people will go astray and do what they want. The problem with our football, in my opinion, has always been how we've managed things. And for me, the management has been very poor. I mean, last night, Anas showed us a video in where a referee's appointment committee member was taking money to tell what kind of referees to give to a certain game. At the end of the day, he has predetermined how that game will end. So if a referee already knows that the one appointing him has taken money, he then gets that courage to also take money and do what he wants.
Michael. Hello, Michael. Have we got Michael?
Yes, and I'm with you.
Oh, good, Michael. Michael, this is a country who have developed a phobia for consequences. We have a deep fear for consequences, and there's no consequences for anything one can do. Every sector, be it roads, health, and now in sports. And so what's going to happen is that we're all going to put our kiddie gloves on and touch here, steps to close down, and thank God for English. We use all these nice adjectives. And so there are no consequences for, even if it was dissolved and you brought a new board in, they know that, look, if I go wrong, it's the same thing as, I think, what can we do to put that fear of God to make sure that, we're on the right path?
Well, I think that before we want to even think about what can we do, we need to establish what did we do wrong. You see, this business of patronizing or patronage appointment and stuff must also stop. You see, people must be made to earn their various positions on merit. We should develop a system where people feel that, look, I earned my position on merit, and therefore I am accountable to the system, the country, and not my appointing authority. Once people feel accountable to the country, the system, the national system put in place, and the system places a check on them, I believe we will begin to now have a different conversation as to what we can do and enhance the quality and the integrity of our football and of our national life. Everything that we do them because somebody put us there and we owe it to him. Now, if the person who put us there does not seem to be ready to crack the whip and demand accountability, demand efficiency, and demand effectiveness, we sit back and sit. Because, look, this position that we are occupying, we either bought it, we bootlicked somebody, we were screaming the loudest in a certain political space, and therefore we earn where we are, and we have to change. These are things. So the way Mr. Nyanseti bragged on the video tells it all, that I can do everything and anything because I am this and I am that, and I've contributed this and I've contributed that. That is our problem. If we get that out of the way and put people based on merit, and the people know that at some point their performance will be judged and people will hold them accountable for their stewardship, I believe that people will be very careful. In this country, we will be very careful with the things we do.
Michael, but you see, going forward, and time and again, there aren't many stories or examples to give of people who were purported to have gone wrong, and we saw some serious, punishment to deter others. There aren't many examples. So going forward, are these going to be? I mean, is this video going to bring about the new sets of people who? I mean, and like you say, I mean, they'll go to court and they'll come back and tell you nobody even went wrong.
Well, that will largely depend you citizen who for a long time that we see every day. We can be to show. Yes.
Michael, I'm losing you. Can you reposition yourself?
Okay. I'm saying that. Can you hear me now, Nana?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I'm saying that for a very long time we have seen that people who demand accountability.
No, I think, Michael, yeah, they'll try and call you back and then get... but let me put the same question to you. I mean, maybe it's not a football question, but it relates to this. We are scared of consequences. We don't want to punish anybody. The pastor will come and beg, the minister, everybody will come and beg, so everything will be toned down. And so there's no deterrence.
And I have seen that being played up even hours after this announcement. There's this club owner who recently was complaining about how he wanted to quit football because there was no money. Then he was playing the Premier League. There was no money. I mean, no sponsorship. He's paying players. He doesn't have the money. He wanted to quit. A decision like this is taken. He comes back on radio complaining that this decision is going to affect them. And I'm saying that it is because of the situation you are describing. We are afraid of consequences. People are, we've more or less become a people who want to think of what we can get now and then get over it and go away. We don't look at tomorrow and what will come after tomorrow. I support the decision, even though I feel that it has so many complications. I think what we should do is to accept the fact that things are wrong, and that's what Michael Bodie said. We should know what is wrong so that if we are correcting, we know what we are correcting. We definitely have to come to the point where we understand that if we are not ready to accept the fact that things are wrong and we want to correct it, looking into the future, then perhaps we will have to just abandon the game and find something else to do.
Let me take a quick break and come back and find out, is this time for the sports revolution? Should we go in there now and start the sports revolution? Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying. Michael's joined us back on the phone, but I'll start the studio and go to the phone. Are you for a sports, like a revolution in the sports fraternity?
I think
shake up.
I think I will
all out.
I would rather concern myself with football because the other aspects, I mean, the other disciplines also have their issues. We saw what happened with the Australia Commonwealth Games, a whole mess that we've not even dealt with. I would want to concentrate on football and see how we can come out of this.
Okay, football revolution, are you for it?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Total shakedown.
If not, how can you have over 60 referees compromised? And these are our elite referees, FIFA referees, all compromised. If you don't revolutionize the system, how are you going to move forward? We definitely have to do something that would, wipe the slate clean so that when we know we are coming back, we know we are coming back fresh with the objective of not repeating the things that brought us back.
Michael.
Hello.
Great, Michael. Much better line now. Much better
Right.
line. Michael, would you be in support of a total shake-up in the football fraternity?
Oh, I can't agree more. I think there should be a total shake-up. I think we have to uplift the quality of the issue. Talk about the issue of accountability. Open the football up a lot more for greater accountability, and ensure there is better transparency in the way resources are managed and decisions are taken at the FA. We shouldn't allocate so much power to an individual who determines everything from co-efficiency to the appointment and dismissal of everybody at will. I think that we should begin to open the management of the football a lot better.
You think it's achievable?
Oh, I think it's so achievable. I mean, if it is happening in all other areas, then why can't it happen in football?
Jerome, is this a Ghana problem or is it a worldwide problem?
I think it's, maybe I should say, an African football problem, because the experience I have seen in Europe, the sort of stories I have seen in Europe regarding corruption in football, the way they deal with it, in my opinion, has always been drastic. They go deep down, approach the problem. It doesn't mean it will not resurface, but then if it comes 100 times, they will deal with it the same way. And we have the Juventus example. I mean, they were demoted to Division 2 when it was found out that matches they played were all fixed. They dealt with them. We saw the FIFA example. I mean, years ago, I would never have believed that Sepp Blatter would fall like the way he did. Michel Platini and all those people, they were all dealt with in a way that restores confidence. Our problem here, and the BBC video that it's going to be shown, I saw excerpts. It's been running around today. One of the referees was saying that this is everywhere, and that's why I'm saying it seems to be, even though it's a football problem, it is more prevalent in Africa, and we seem not to have the system to deal with it the way people expect these things to be handled. So it is not just a Ghana problem, it is an African football problem. And that's why in the WAFU competition that we had, from those videos that we've seen shown by the BBC, referees from Gambia, Kenya and other places were compromised. I'm told today that one of the referees was even going to the World Cup. And you have such a corrupt referee going to officiate at that level. The good news is that he pulled himself out because he knows that FIFA will deal with him. So it is not a Ghana problem, perhaps a worldwide problem. But then in certain areas of the world, they deal with it and you feel that, yes, these people want to correct a wrongdoing. Here, we go up and down about it, and then we'll come back to the same problem. I'm just hoping that this will end the way that some other problems have ended.
Michael, is the next phase a series of, people hauled through courts, so that we see justice for, the football fans, to feel that, look, all their tickets and all their energies were not wasted when we saw corruption, and again?
Well, Nana, I think that the next phase is thorough investigation. I think that we need to do a good and thorough investigation so we don't get to court and the fears of many Ghanaians, the technicality issue will play up. We have to have a watertight case before we get to court. And then when we get to court, let's ensure that, justice is done. If we do a wishy-washy investigation and go to the court, I mean, we should be certain that we are not going to get any joy. Now, once that we don't make corruption a high risk and a low gain venture, it will repeat itself. And come some a year or two again, we'll probably be saying the same thing or talking about the same thing. So therefore, we need to take stringent measures, do thorough investigation, have punitive sanctions that will deter others from going the same route as we are seeing now. And I believe that the story will be different going forward. Like the question you asked, there is corruption everywhere, but the difference is how others have dealt with it when it rears its head.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is to ensure that we deal with what has come to us or what we've seen now drastically, and ensure that people are educated about what happened, how it was dealt with, and I believe that lessons will be learned out of it, and good practice would ensue in the future.
Michael, I don't know if it's a fair question, but let me try it. Because if you look at the GFA boards, some of the things he's alleged to have said or seen in the video was outside of the jurisdiction of Ghana. Can you go and bring him here and come and try him here, even if it was a crime that was committed, even if it wasn't committed in Ghana? I mean, can you hold him?
Well, I would say that we will allow the investigators or the competent authorities to deal with that. But here again, I think that if I'm not mistaken, we have rules that allows Ghanaians to be brought to Ghana and tried. So I believe that the investigators would have to look at that and determine whether there is a good case against him or not. But no matter what the issue is, the first casualty or the first sanctioning had begun where government is looking into the possibility of dissolving the GFA, so we have a reconstituted GFA. So, well, he losing his job, and then yesterday I read that he had resigned from the FIFA executive committee. So even though we are not even anywhere near going to court yet, the sanctioning and the penalties thereof are being trafficked already.
Michael, thank you very much for that input. Let me give 1 minute to Jerome. So, way forward, what's the football fraternity expecting?
I think we just have to accept that things are wrong. And government taking this decision is interested in correcting the system. Instead of being so concerned about what we are going to lose in the short term, I think we should look at the picture ahead, how we want our football to bounce back to the level where we want to see it. And swallow the bitter pill now, go through the system. A FIFA ban certainly could be imminent. But if after the ban we will come back reformed as we want it, so be it.
We could use the ban to build a team?
Exactly. I mean, it's possible.
Well, let me take this opportunity to invite all of you Friday, 8th of June to Royal St. Jade. Akwamumang Senior High School is performing the play Asimeni. For those of you who didn't know, Asimeni was the first ever black governor in Africa. Somewhere in the 1600s, he ruled the Usu Castle, Christianborg Castle, for a year, where he captured it and ran as a governor of the Gold Coast for about a year. This is history that has never been told. And 5:30 on Friday, the 8th of June, they will be performing this play. If you have time, you don't want to miss it. Very emotional, rich history that you should come and watch. 5:30 at the St. J. Royal, 8th of June, Friday. You don't want to miss that. But thank you very much for coming. And to you at home, I say thank you for watching. We'll be back to do this all over again.